What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, and today we're going to be looking at the fallout of Daniel Levy losing Tottenham Hotspur through the eyes of social media. I'm sure there are some golden nuggets to get through here, so I've very much been looking forward to this. And first up, we're going to be looking at a tweet from Raj Chauhan, and he says, and the fact that Levy has cared so much about Spurs' financial state means he will now reap the benefits. 70 million higher revenues than Chelsea last year. Crazy. The PSR era is well and truly here, and the revenue streams that he has created means you can expect much more Kuduses and Javi Simons in the years to come. Enjoy. And yeah, I mean, it is true. Like, Levy did say, didn't he, in that interview with Gary Neville, like, once I'm gone, you will appreciate me a lot more, or that people will look back on his tenure as you know, maybe in a lot more positive light. And as much as I don't think he's the right man for the job and he couldn't take us further than what he has done, I actually agree in a sense that he's left the club in such a good position for someone else to come in and take us on to that next level.
I think the reality is he grew the club to such a size that it outgrew him. That's kind of what happened, I feel.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Like, he deserves a lot of credit for building it to such a size, but then it's like when you've seen it, like stories before about someone who builds a business so big and then the business gets too big for them, and then the board kicks them out. You know what I mean? That's a story.
That's just what happened.
That is what happened, I guess. But that's what's happened in like big businesses before and stuff. Like, the person who originally builds it is not the one who's necessarily big enough to take to the next level. And I think that's kind of the problem with Levy, is he never kind of adapted to how big it got. And he still kind of treated it in the same way.
He wasn't fit for purpose anymore. But the point I'm trying to make is that as much as, you know, people have a lot of anger and hate towards Levy over the years, which is completely fair enough. I'm obviously been one of those people. But when now it's all said and done now, and you look back at what the sleeping giant that Spurs are right now, with the infrastructure around the club, with the revenue streams that allow us to compete in a PSR standing and able for us to spend the money, all you have to do is look at clubs like Aston Villa and Newcastle. You know, they can get to a certain stage, but it's going to be incredibly hard for them to get to that next stage because of you know, the lack of revenue streams. Like Newcastle, they got one of the most richest owners in the world, but they can't spend the money.
Yeah, and I think Levy's I think in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, when we do look back at his tenure, it will be seen as a success. However stretch people look at it, hopefully we are successful on the pitch in those years to come. But I think, by and large, he's going to be seen as someone who brought us to the level we're at the moment.
I think that it all depends on the job that the next guys do. And if they do a fantastic job, I think people will say, you know, they're building off the work that Daniel Levy left and the infrastructure. But if they don't do a good job, no one's really going to remember maybe what Daniel Levy left behind.
Maybe.
Adam Ray says, thoughts with the camera. What's this? Thoughts with the camera operator specifically employed to get mid-game close-ups of Daniel Levy. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Someone at Sky Sports is out of a job now.
They made a killing of whenever you go 1-0 down, just zooming into Daniel Levy's face. Oh God, poor guys. Yeah,
well, now Charrington's going to be under that spotlight. Simon Yemeni says, Levy was both good and bad for this club. Over time, the good will outweigh the bad. Memories of sporting failures will fade, while the stadium and the revenues it provides will continue to sustain us. When he sees what we can do without him, he'll be happy he finally let go. I mean, I hope that's true. I hope that's true. I don't know if he'll be happy that he finally let go, because I think he just wants to be in the thick of it. He wants to be micromanaging every facet of it. And the reality is what he was kind of pushed and didn't want to leave. So I think that he'll be, if Spurs do go on to successes, it'll be interesting to see what his thoughts will be.
Do you think over time the good will outweigh the bad of his tenure?
It very much depends how the club is managed from here on out. Like, if we do go off, like I said before, like,
but that won't be Levy's fault if it gets mismanaged up and after this point.
No, it won't. But the kind of work that he did of building that infrastructure, if it doesn't, you know, relate to us on the pitch, no one's really going to remember it or talk about it.
But he's brought us to a stage where we've got the ability to spend money. Brilliant with PSR. We've got all these revenue streams. So he's put us in that place.
Yeah.
So after this point, he's now left. Like, it's not his fault if he gets mismanaged after this.
Yeah, I know. You just asked me that a second ago, and I said that. But it does depend on like how people will perceive his time at Spurs, if it gets mismanaged or not mismanaged. Because if it gets managed well, people will be looking back at it. Wow, look at the groundwork that Levy left for us. We're doing so well now, and it's all because on the back of his work. But if it just carries on being poor, I don't think anyone will look back on anything, because there'll be nothing to look back on.
Well, if he gets mismanaged poorly, people will be clamouring for Levy to come back.
Yeah, could be.
That's the truth.
Depends how badly it's mismanaged.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if it's like kind of the same as what we were doing under Levy, is like sometimes a top 4 challenge, but European football and stuff, then it will just be much of the same.
I'm talking about, yeah, that's true, but I'm talking on the pitch, yes, but let's say the finances get mismanaged from this point on, and all of a sudden we're in positions where we can't spend for one reason or another, and people be like, well, this guy had us got the ability to spend, and now what's going on? Yeah,
he had us at the ability to spend, but actually spending it was a different story. I mean, I know we in terms of the net spend in the, I think we're 4th in the Premier League, but people always go back to the wages, and that's the way you're really going to compete with the teams in the top 4. So let's see what happens on that front.
Mm-hmm.
Simpsons EFL saying Spurs fans waving off Daniel Levy, and it was a momentous day yesterday.
Party time.
That's pretty much how I felt yesterday and how I'm feeling today. I still hard to believe this has actually happened.
I know, it's just something that he's so synonymous with Tottenham. Like, Levy has basically been Tottenham for like the last 25 years.
Makes me sick to say that,
but it's truth. He's been so synonymous with Spurs. Like, everything, our identity has kind of been tied to him in the last 25 years. So the fact that he's left now, it's almost like we're creating something new. It's like we're going to have a new identity now. It's a bit crazy to think about.
Yeah, and I feel like as well, like, you're looking at how clubs perceive Tottenham, how other clubs perceive Tottenham. Literally, it's like trade deals are going to be opening up all over the world. Do you know what I mean? It's just like clubs will want to deal with us now. Well, will be open to dealing with us now. It won't be like this hard, long, drawn-out negotiation. It might still be, but it won't be like kind of both teams trying to proper go to the nth degree to get one up on like these small little details in a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping for anyway. Levy is out. Tweeted this out saying, breaking, let me introduce you to our new owner, Sheikh Daniel bin Levy.
Literally, that's going to happen, isn't it? He's going to be our new owner.
JZR saying, Levy turning up to the Wolves game in his usual seat.
Imagine. We probably will, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised as well. Do you reckon he gets taken out, escorted out?
Gets chased out.
Social Analyst says 10 seasons before Levy arrived in 01, Spurs' highest finish was 7th, rarely played in Europe and won 1 League Cup. Levy's last 10 seasons, Spurs finished in the top 5 6 times, top 3 3 times, regularly played in Europe, including Champions League finalists, Europa League winners, built the best stadium in the country and a top 5 Premier League squad.
Anything to disagree with there? He's just stating facts, I think.
No, nothing really to disagree. Like I've said on a many occasion, I commend him and I give him kind of his flowers for getting us to that certain state, but it's all about getting past that state.
Do you think he gets enough credit for, though, on the footballing side? Because always the conversation about Levy is he built us off great off the pitch, but on the pitch, made a lot of mistakes, which is true. But do you not think? But I feel like it does get left out that before he came in, we were a team. Everyone says, "Oh, before he came, we used to win the odd cup and stuff," but we were in the wilderness for a lot longer before he came in than people give us credit for.
Yeah, but the reality is he got us to that state pretty quickly, being in a top 5. Challenging for the top 4 under Martin Jol, which was obviously the first time. Mm-hmm. And a few years after that, it became a kind of regularity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only so much you can get credit for. He got a lot of credit for it at that moment, in that time.
We were loving him at that time.
In that time, yeah, like he got a lot of credit for it. But if you're keeping at that same level for so many years, then obviously that credit is going to die down, and that credit is going to turn into kind of negative feelings.
I think his biggest, obviously he's got a lot of failures, but his biggest failure was obviously he had really cracked it with Poch and just didn't take advantage of that. And that was just the time we all knew he had to really strike while the iron's hot, and we never really recovered from that.
It's a couple of eras. There's Redknapp era as well.
Redknapp era as well. You know, we could have done more with that as well. Again, that summer we got Champions League, but we only signed Van der Vaart, didn't we? Mm-hmm. That was our only signing really.
The January when we were desperate for players, and we signed
Nelson and
who was it?
Zaha,
yeah.
So yeah,
there's been plenty of occasions where Spurs have been at the cusp of doing something special, and we've always gone backwards at that point, and that's all down to him. Every single bit. But
it's also it was beyond our wildest dreams of playing Champions League football, which is also down to him every single way, you could say. Yeah,
that's true. But like, how long can you give someone credit for when that becomes the norm? You need to keep progressing in forward, and we just never did that.
But I'm saying we still talk about his mistakes 15 years later, but we don't acknowledge his. We don't acknowledge his successes 15 years later. We still talk. We say Nelson and Zaha. That's something we always beat him with, but we don't. Do we always say he brought us to Champions League football? Like he did that.
Well, I think Nelson and Zaha was even more recent than him getting us fighting for Champions League. I know Redknapp was the first time we actually made the Champions League, but it's all about kicking on. It's all about kicking on, and I think he has got a lot of credit, and people have given him credit for getting us to a certain stage. But if you go backwards after that, it means nothing.
Doesn't mean nothing.
Well, it does really. Because you need to keep pushing forward, and if you're not pushing forward, you're going backwards.
Yeah, but now,
we always get to a certain stage and always go backwards.
I understand that, but it's not. But now it's an expectation we get Europe rather than a dream, and so it doesn't mean nothing. We're still there, expecting Europe, and we're still. And 18 of the last 20 seasons we've been in Europe, which was not the case before we arrived.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean nothing.
I mean, it was the case before. At some point in Spurs' history, just not at that kind of stage where the club that he took over, the club that nearly went bust under Alan Sugar. I mean, before then, we were getting into Europe quite regularly. We were even winners of European competition.
That's not the club Levy took over, though, is it?
No, it's not.
So that's not got nothing to do with him.
So look, he gets credit to a certain extent in terms of what he achieved at this football club, but it wasn't enough.
No, at the end, it wasn't.
Yeah. RT on James says, before anyone tries to romanticize Levy, prior to his tenureship, Tottenham were known as an exciting team that frequently won cups. Spursy was never a thing and happened entirely under his watch and because of him. I mean, I don't really think that's entirely true, to be honest.
I mean, when we lost 3-0, when we were 3-0 up against United, was that Levy? I can't remember.
Yeah, that was 2001, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Glenn Hoddle.
Glenn Hoddle.
That was Levy.
That was Levy. I don't know if that's entirely true. Like, it's true to a certain extent. We were, but that was probably like 10 years before Levy turned up.
Like we weren't serial winners.
Like the 80s, probably they're talking, not really the 90s.
Yeah, so exactly. So I mean, we weren't serial winners when Levy took over this club. That's just facts. We weren't. We were serial winners over a decade before then.
Yeah,
and we had two different chairmen in between that time.
Before Levy, we won the FA Cup in 91 and the League Cup in 99. So 2 years in like the 10 years before he took over in 2001. Yeah. So
everyone goes,
not
the
frequent.
FA, I know a lot of people say like, the FA Cup used to be such a important trophy to this club. We used to win it regularly, which is true. But the last time we won it was in 91. That was 10 years before Levy took over.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. In terms of Spursy, that might be true, to be fair. I mean, I think we probably were Spursy before Levy turned up, but I don't think it was a real tag until probably after.
There was no social media then.
Yeah. Probably that's also true. It wasn't quite just a social media thing, though. It was kind of there before social media, but it wasn't like a phrase coined, kind of. Because I think people, like players and stuff, maybe, or whatever, people used to be around, but it wasn't like
not really.
A thing.
I think it only... The birth of Spursy was with social media. It came with social media.
Maybe.
Highbury Hustle says, this is bad news for all non-Spurs fans. You're goddamn right it's bad news for all of you guys. Spurs are a giant waiting to explode now.
Exactly.
Kieran Maguire says, during Daniel Levy's era, Spurs were the most profitable Premier League team in the Premier League club.
With look at that, 167 million profit compared to Chelsea, 1.2 billion expense. Crazy, isn't it? We're the only Arsenal, Liverpool and Arsenal aren't too far behind, to be fair.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what to make out of that, to be honest. Like, yeah, great, we're the most profitable club, but
I don't know if that's meant to be a positive or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I even see that as a positive. Like, it's great, yeah, fine. He made a lot of money for the club, but I don't look back at profit and loss sheets in terms of looking at the success of my football club. Sean Walsh says, Daniel Levy from 2001-2017 was, for me, unquestionably one of the best football chairman in football. Ran Spurs exactly the way a football club of that size ought to have been. 2018 to present, a different story, and is belatedly the right time for change. Foundations are all there. I do agree. I mean, maybe not till 2017, but I agree with it up to a certain point. I'm not sure when that cutting off point should have been. There obviously has been mistakes, and quite a few mistakes in that time as well. You're looking at the way certain things have been managed, the Martin Yole sacking, the Harry Redknapp era. There was obviously a lot of good things in there, but there were a lot of mismanagement in there as well. The Pochettino era as well, mismanagement at time when talking about bringing personnel into the club. But I thought on a basis, he did run the club well up to a certain point. And then I would say probably you started seeing the Daniel Levy failures start to come in probably around the Harry Redknapp era.
I think up until 2017, the trajectory of the club was exactly what you'd want. Yes, there were mistakes like Saha and Nelson, these kind of things. Like nothing wasn't perfect, but I think the trajectory of the club and what he had done was phenomenal up until 2017.
Yeah.
And then once we had that last season of White Hart Lane, that's when the real issues, not investing in that squad, then sacking Pochettino, all the misstep to Mourinho and Conte, and wasting money and lack of direction, and not really no real plan as to what we're going to do with all this money and what we're going to do with all this revenue streams. That's where he kind of lost his way, really. I think up until 2017, yes, there were some things to complain about, but it wasn't. But I think by and large, he'd got us from a mid-table team to a team challenging for Europe, to a team regularly in Europe, to a team into the Champions League, to a team then onto a title challenge. So the trajectory was really like that.
Yeah, it's true.
So then up until 2017, it was really that last season of White Hart Lane. And it's like, okay.
So what you're saying is basically that Levy should have been left behind with White Hart Lane.
Essentially. Because then we would have been in the best
outdated stadium should have been left with an outdated manager because he couldn't come into the modern times.
Yeah, because once it hit that point, I think he just didn't really know how to have sustained success right at the top. He could keep us kind of challenging for Europe after that. And then his real failures, I think, started after that point. So I think that's fairly accurate.
Yeah. Change for Tottenham gave us a statement yesterday as well. Obviously, they've been campaigning for this very moment for quite some time. Obviously, most notable last season with a strong protest with many people joining them on that last season. And their statement says that, Change for Tottenham welcome the news of Daniel Levy's departure. Whilst this decision is years too late, this call should have been made a long time ago. After years of mismanagement and poor decision-making at the very top, whilst Change for Tottenham do not take credit for Levy standing down, since our founding, we have constantly put pressure on ENIC to make this important and right call. Daniel Levy clearly has been a success off the pitch with our incredible stadium, world-class training ground and business acumen, but it's obvious that the actual football and fans have become secondary prior to him. This isn't the end of our campaigning. We'll continue to make sure sporting success, not just financial success, are key priorities of the club. Together, our voices are stronger. Our club, our voice.
Yeah, I don't think the Change for Tottenham or the protesters can take credit for Levy going, but I also think they have to receive credit for their actions leading in this way, because I do find it hard to believe that without the serious pressure the fans have put on, that this might have happened even at this point.
I think they've had a big impact.
I think there has had an impact, and I think a lot of reports have noted that they've been aware of the
hard
protests and all
not
this
to be
stuff.
aware
You
of
know,
it.
and they've seen the effect it has in his club, and the whole discourse about Enoch and Levy and stuff is something that every time we have a bad result or bad on a form, it always, you know, comes up, and it's hard to avoid. And I think, you know, Levy going probably for a bit anyway will probably quieten down a lot of that noise, even if, you know, similar results will happen. So I think credit to Change for Tottenham for the pressure they have put on, and I think they deserve credit for what's happened. But obviously, it's not, you know, you can't say it's because we protested that Daniel's left, but I definitely think it's had an impact.
Yeah, 100%. It's just like kind of one of the cogs of the many cogs of why we've got to where we are right now, in my opinion. So massive credit for Change for Spurs, Change for Tottenham. I've obviously stood with them on many of occasion, not just them as well, even when it was a small sector of people led by Brian Daigle back then opposite the club shop. So this has been a long time coming, and I'm sure a lot of fans are very happy with the input that they've had in this situation. Billy T says, imagine someone went into a coma in May. Since then, Spurs have won a European trophy, finished 17th in the league, sacked the bloke who did it, hired a new manager, Son has left, Javi Simons has signed, and Levy has gone. You'd wake up and be straight back after hearing that. Like, it is mad. It is mad if from May onwards.
It's been crazy.
It's just been carnage, hasn't it? Absolutely mad.
It's, what's gone on at this football club. To think about in May. So if I told you at the start of last season we're going to win a European trophy and Levy would have gone, I mean, you would have said I'm Doolally. It's crazy. It's crazy how much things have changed over the last few months.
And I was only like listening to podcasts and Spurs YouTubers only like a few days ago saying, well, yeah, like Levy's just that immovable object. You're not going to get him gone. Like, he's not going anywhere.
And here
we are.
Gone.
He's not part of the club anymore. He's still a shareholder, but he's not a decision maker at this club anymore. Just mad. Raj Chauhan, another one from him, says, Levy took Spurs from mid-table mediocrity to consistent Champions League qualification, and at their peak dominated Real Madrid's three-peat team and got to a Champions League final. Far better indications of a top process than a European League win, which was, of course, great for the fans. Main criticisms from me were not supplementing the squad with more transfers at that peak to take them over the edge to glory, and then losing track of his long-term vision by chasing past it Mourinho because he was a proven winner. The transfer vision is not as good as the Eriksson, Son, Toby, Dele peak, but they are still getting hits here and there with the likes of Romero, Kulu, Porro, and now likely Kudus and Simons. But there is a big room for improvement to produce more consistent hits. The 150 million massive overpay on Richarlison, Brennan and Solanke, for example. However, the way Levy has transformed Spurs' revenue streams and the infrastructure to finish 9th in the Deloitte Money League is phenomenal work. This leaves the club in an amazing platform for sustainable success in the future, and that is the most important thing of all. Spurs' status as a club has been transformed completely by him. And yeah, I mean, it most definitely has. The status of this football club is completely different to what the status was back in 2001. And I really hope it does bring an end to those kind of signings where we overpay on kind of, I don't want to say mediocre because I think it's a bit harsh on them, but kind of 60 million, 65 million on talent that maybe any club above us won't be spending money on.
Yeah, I think a lot of the reason we did that, especially when you look at like Richarlison, it was classic Levy trying to take advantage of certain situations, wasn't it? Or Levy having certain relationships with certain agents, and that was a lot of the reason we spent money on a lot of those players. So hopefully we can be a lot smarter. But he says the transfer vision at the moment is not as good as the Eriksson, Son, Toby and Dele peak, but with Romero, Decky, Porro, and Kudus and Simons, he feels like he's getting better. You can put maybe Van der Ven in there as well. Do you think?
Van der Ven, Romero, I think we're getting back there. I think we're getting back to really good talent spotting and bringing in good value players and upping just the general kind of quality of the squad. I do think we're getting back there. So I think the transfer strategy that we have right now, that we've shown over the course of this summer, is the best transfer strategy we've had probably since then.
If Levy is free to go to another, which I'm not really sure what it is, if he is free to go to another club or not right now, but if he was, do you see clubs being in for him?
I think certain clubs would be in for him. I'm sure. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Man United were in for him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe like a Villa, maybe Newcastle.
I hope he does go. But I think if he goes to another club, like, again, I think in the long run it will do well for the club to give them a sustainable future and to get them, you know, competing financially. But I don't wish that on a football fan. If you just care about the football and you want your club to be fighting at the top and all that kind of stuff, then it's probably not what you want.
Although, would you say that to an Everton fan?
Would I say what? That
you wouldn't wish Daniel Levy on them?
Why is that? Why Everton?
Because look at how they've been for the last 10 years, battling relegation, like mid-table, not doing anything.
To be fair to Everton, they've just got new owners in, and I
understand that. But I'm just saying, if you offered Everton what Tottenham fans have had for the last 10 years or 12 or 15 years, they would bite your hand off probably.
Yeah. So Daniel Levy could do a good job at a club that have been fighting relegation for the last few years.
A mid-table club. Everton are not too dissimilar to what we were before he took over.
And up to a certain stage, you know, he'll do a brilliant job.
West Ham, big clubs.
West Ham would love Daniel Levy.
I think a lot of clubs would. To be honest.
I just don't think the top clubs.
Yeah, probably not the top
clubs that want success right now. Daniel Levy's not the man. If you want to like steady the ship and grow your infrastructure and put yourselves on the map financially, then Daniel Levy's your man.
Which is what every club wants, apart from the top, which they want that and more. But most clubs just would start at that, because most clubs are not that.
Yeah. But, you know, we are one of those clubs now. We're a fan base that needs success.
Yeah, because Levy done that. Because he's done that.
But yeah, even prior to Levy, we were a club that demanded success, apart from those 10 years before Levy took over. Bleacher Report says Tottenham fans right now. That was definitely me last night. Harry Kane, is he coming back home? Sonny and Bentancur Champions League final. Robbie Keane jumping up and down for joy. A lot of smiles everywhere in the Spurs fan base yesterday. The Bleacher Report. This is everyone's reaction when when the news dropped. Oh my God, I just couldn't believe what I was reading.
It seemed it took everyone. Like I was looking at the reactions. It doesn't matter if you're a Spurs fan or not. It seemed everyone just like jaws dropped when they saw this news. It's massive news, not just for Tottenham fans, but you got to remember he's the longest-serving Premier League chairman.
Yeah,
he's been like a staple of the Premier League for a long time. One of the faces, like one of the most talked about people. So the fact he's just not there anymore is just massive football news, not just Tottenham news.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the reactions, just jaw-dropping moments. And I just remember just looking at my phone, seeing a notification saying Daniel Levy has left the club. And I was like, Sim, why have I got a notification on my phone saying that Daniel Levy has left the club?
Oh, it's probably rubbish.
And then Sim got a notification from Tottenham Tiers saying Daniel. I was like, why are they saying it as well? Like, is it the spam account? Is it the fake account? No, it's the real account. And then Sim just quickly goes on the Tottenham Twitter and he's like, oh fuck. It was unbelievable. Hayden Smith says, enjoy, mate, a well-deserved glass of bubbly. And I think a lot of people were popping up the bubblies last night, including myself and including Maz. And he says, a bosh. While he's sipping his beer yesterday with a
one
nice
person who I don't think was Brian Daigle.
He got his alcohol-free bubbly.
Exactly.
But
yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. All right, that is how the internet did react to Daniel Levy leaving Tottenham yesterday. I still can't quite believe I'm saying it, but Daniel Levy has left the building. And a lot of people saying to me they haven't seen or heard me this happy for a very long time, including my wife said that as well. So that is that. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.